candy can be dangerous. And we're not just talking about cavities, or that weird neighbor at the end of the block who always tries to hand out homemade taffy on Halloween. Some candy trauma goes beyond terrifying dentist visits, with some sweets actually containing high amounts of lead. Leady-rific. Today on Weird History Food, we're talking about candies that were pulled from shelves for being too dangerous. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel and leave a comment to let us know what other life-threatening food stories you'd like to hear about. Okay, time to hear about all the awesome candy you used to be able to buy before safety concerns ruined everyone's fun.
We're on it!
Kinder Eggs, the hollow chocolate eggs with toys crammed inside, like something you would have seen in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Had Willy Wonka been played by the turducken-lovin' John Madden.
That's where you stuff a chicken into a duck, and then you stuff that inside a turkey. Boom, that's a turducken!
Kinder Eggs have been banned in the US since the 1930s due to a rule that bans any food with a non-nutritive object embedded. But what could possibly be dangerous about toy stuffed chocolate? Well, when you're a kid and you're excited about eating candy, you might not pause long enough to realize that there's a tiny race car hidden inside the treat you're busy inhaling. The truth of the matter is, no kid has choked themselves out on a Kinder Egg toy, and those who did intentionally ate the toy once it was outside of the chocolate. Despite this, the potential choking hazard of Kinder Eggs was enough to make them forbidden in the United States. The Consumer Product Safety Commission initiated a recall of the eggs in 1997.
What a good idea!
Citizens who attempted to smuggle them into the States can be fined up to $2,500 per egg. In 2011, over 60,000 contraband Kinder Eggs were taken by U.S. Customs in border protection. Wait, there's a candy smuggling ring? That's a very Willie Escobar idea. Here's an interesting fact. Lead poisoning has been traced to gasoline, water pipes, lead-glazed pottery, and most recently, lollipops. In 2001, the FDA told consumers to stay away from tamarind Bolorindo lollipops after tests found lead concentrations of 21,000 parts per million in the lollipop's wrappers, or roughly 2% of the wrapper's composition. That seems like too much lead for a candy wrapper. Are we trying to sneak these things through TSA x-rays? Anyone who's had tamarind candy knows it's not a treat to be taken lightly, but they're probably not expecting a mouthful of lead. But this is an easy save. Just get new wrappers for the candy. And since you can still buy the lollipops in various places, one can assume the company did just that. At least, we hope. The Toxic Waste Bar, produced by Candy Dynamics, turned out to actually be toxic. Well, that's a candy's name that was really on the nose. When California's Department of Public Health found 0.24 parts per million of lead in the candy line's cherry flavor in 2011, a mass recall was put out to remove the treat from the store shelves. Customers were actually asked to dispose of any remaining toxic waste bars they might have been saving for a special occasion. While the candy is still available in various iterations, the hazardous ingredients have been removed from the recipe. Sit down on your old beanbag chair for this one. Hippy Sippy was a candy introduced in the late 1960s that looked remarkably similar to a heroin needle. Can't see that going wrong in any way. The treat was meant to poke fun at the drug use implicit in hippie culture, and the packaging bore the encouraging motto, "Hippy Sippy says I'll try anything." When someone has a smack problem, ridicule them and make a candy out of it. Hippy Sippy was like candy cigarettes, but for kids looking for something a little more edgy. Was the Hippy Sippy candy hilarious or horrifying? The answer is yes. But the candy caused such offense, it was almost immediately removed from the market. Haribo gummy bears are the Cadillac of gummy bears, with their cheerful packaging featuring a bow-tie bear encouraging you to try and fit as many of his brethren into your mouth as possible. But people should have thought twice about chowing down on the sugar-free version. And not just because the idea of sugar-free gummy bears is like saddling Willy Wonka with a safety inspector, just takes all the fun out of it. The Haribo Candy Company used lycocin instead of sugar in their colorful gummies. Problem is, lycosin's main ingredient is maltitol, which is also used in laxatives. What does this mean? Hundreds of people thought they were actually making a smart food choice by going for a sugar-free treat, not aware that they would then spend a good amount of their day on a toilet cursing the day they ever discovered gummy bears. It was enough to generate 53 pages of negative reviews on Amazon. The candies have since been taken off the market. Hey, Weird History Food! Have you ever wanted to call yourself a lord or lady without having to lie about it, or wasting a bunch of macaroni and glue to make a fake crest? Well, Established Titles will let you do just that. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom, where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. It's a fun way to preserve the picturesque woodlands and biodiversity of Scotland and support afforestation efforts around the world. Established Titles lets you buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Scotland. You'll receive a certificate with a crest and a unique plot number that will allow you to see the exact location of your new acreage. Castles, moats, and siege engines not included. Incorporate your humble bragging rights by officially changing your name to Lord or Lady, adding the prefix to applicable documents including your credit cards and even your dating profile. But it isn't all about getting people to swipe right. Established Titles works with charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts, and will plant a tree with every order. It makes a great last-minute gift, and you can even get a couples pack so you and your lord or ladyship can have plots of land right next to each other. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using our link will effectively be next to the Weird History Food plot, within a few minutes of walking distance. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or lady, we can build our own little Weird History Food kingdom. Take advantage of Established Titles Labor Day sale right now and get an additional 10% off any purchase by going to establishedtitles.com/weirdhistoryfood and entering the code weirdhistoryfood to help support your favorite Weird History Food channel. That's establishedtitles.com/weirdhistoryfood with code weirdhistoryfood. Lollipipes, the candy smoking pipe that was definitely not designed to smoke anything that comes in sandwich baggies, were banned in the state of Washington in 2011 and also banned from 7-Eleven stores in Indiana. Yeah, it's generally good practice not to lick anything with the word pipe in it. The product came in a range of flavors from watermelon to apple and could actually function as a real smoking pipe, which people could use to smoke something that wasn't watermelon. Production was shut down in those states over concern that selling functioning candy pipes might encourage children to get high way before they're old enough to buy fish tickets. It's a well-known fact that kids like to eat things that freak their parents out, and Trolli's Roadkill gummy candy was ready to occupy the top spot of that list of edgy snack foods. But what does it say about a company that would think kids would happily eat a dead animal if it was pink and sugary? Kraft Foods evidently thought everything was cool until animal rights activists began protesting in 2005. The New Jersey Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals insisted the candies, which were shaped like flattened critters, yes, even complete with tire treads, encouraged children to hurt animals. But they remained suspiciously silent about the candy potentially encouraging kids to eat flat animals off of the ground, and teach them that those animals taste like sour raspberry. Kraft caved to the criticism and scraped Roadkill gummies off the market. The granddaddy of why the hell are we selling this to children, candy cigarettes remain one of the most baffling confections ever produced. The sugary sticks dressed up to look like Dad's coffee break are understandably banned in a range of countries, from Brazil to Norway. But you might be wondering how they even got made in the first place. Well, they were created in the 1960s, before it was public knowledge how bad cigarettes are for your health, which is the only excuse for how convincing those Fisher-Price Cools looked. The packaging for Vice-Yo candy smokes were nearly identical to that of the real Viceroy cigarettes, and Marlboro candy cigarettes existed to mimic Marlboro. It's not that much different from producing candy bottles of Jork Daniels for kids to role-play their parents' arguments. In 2009, the lurid images of fruit found on the packaging of Mauam candy caused quite a stir in England, because the cartoon candy characters on the wrappers were drawn in poses that could only be described as pornographic. Simon Simpkins, a British father of two, was especially offended as he felt that the fruit's poses left them compromised. Yeah, that's definitely one word for it. At first, Haribo was reluctant to change their design. A spokesperson for the company explained that the jovial Mauam man is very popular with fans, both young and old. Yeah, I bet. In 2015, Mauam unveiled new packaging that swapped out the sexy fruit in flavor of a chill skateboarding lima bean. And as everyone knows, skateboarding lima beans are celibate. Luckily, the company's slogan, "Full on till it's gone," is vague enough to be interpreted as both sexual and radical. In another example of things being inserted into candy for whatever reason, in 1997, the magic was taken out of Nestle Magic Balls after parents voiced concern that the small toys contained within the delicious candy balls presented a choking hazard.
A surprise in a ball, in chocolate, in foil, in a box.
While the company had tried to differentiate their product from the Kinder Egg by shaping their chocolate like a sphere, it still violated the same law that banned Kinder's products from sale in the US, as the included toys were technically inedible ingredients. In 2000, Nestle re-released the candy, calling it the Wonder Ball, and swapping out the included toys for small, edible candies. Sounds like a pretty obvious fix. I mean, we're making edible pipes and cigarettes. Can't we make edible micro machines? Smarties, the sugary tablets also known as rockets in Canada, caused controversy in Oregon and Michigan when school officials discovered students were grinding up the candy and snorting it. Listen, we've all been there. You're up late, studying for a killer algebra exam, and you need something to give you a little extra pep. This caused health problems such as chronic coughing and infection, and, hypothetically, maggots could begin eating the candy out of the children's noses, according to a representative from the school. That sounds like it probably isn't true. How would that even happen? But truth or not, that disgusting tidbit got those school districts to ban the treat even though a national ban was never enacted. Now this one is genuinely surprising. Conversation hearts, the tiny little heart candies with encouraging yet vague romantic phrases written across them, have been banned by schools in Harwinton, Connecticut. Not because they contain lead or because they encourage kids to eat flattened hearts they find on the side of the highway. No, conversation hearts were given the boot because the schools wanted to encourage healthy eating and safeguard children against ingesting foods that could set off allergies. In 2014, parents received an email from the principal asking that the "You Rock" and "True Love" inscribed candies be left at home. Kids were understandably heartbroken. How are you supposed to have an elementary school Valentine's Day party without a few of those candies tucked inside a stack of Optimus Prime Valentines? Guess they'll have to take up smoking instead. So what do you think? Have you tried any of these candies? What one would you try? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from Weird History Food.